Hey everyone, it's Nicole Nosat and welcome to my YouTube channel. Today I'm making a project for the Vicki Boutin design team. I'm starting off here with a gray art crayon by Vicki Boutin and one of her new stencils from the Storyteller collection. I'm going to just add that to my foundations paper using a stencil brush. I'm actually going to go back and just tape my stencil down a little bit with washi tape as it was kind of moving a bit when I was moving the brush around. So I'm going to just go over that a little bit. I really don't want it to be really dark. I really want a subtle kind of rectangular texture on the background. So I'm just going to lightly add that gray color onto the base and use that to build more kind of color and pattern over top. I kind of like how that turned out. That rectangle stencil is really great. I can see myself using that a lot. It's great for a lot of different projects. I'm going to use black art crayon now with some water and just do a light little drip all over my page to let that sit. While I clean up my art crayon and my stencil, and then I'm going to go ahead and grab my paper towel roll and kind of blot off any excess here off of my page just to kind of get like a darker gray, not quite black drip drops all over the page. Now I really want to use these stencils, stamps from the Storyteller collection. I really love these pretty butterflies. I'm just trying to flip through my art crayon swatch to see what color I might want to use. And I really love some of the purples in this collection, which, believe it or not, I normally don't use purples, but I really wanted to add kind of like that nice, dark, rich purple color. So I'm going to just kind of mix together purple, kind of a fuchsia and a red, and a little bit of black on, and stamp my stamp into that. Mixed it up with some water. You can see I added way too much water there and blotted it off right away. If you use too much water on the stamp, you're just going to get a big blob. So like you can see here. So I've realized that by adding the actual ink from the art crayon with a paintbrush to the stamp, I was getting a bit of kind of the better print that I was liking a little bit more. I'm going to do the same thing with another couple art crayons just to create a different kind of color. I think I'm going to do something a little more pinky red at this point. So I'm going to mix together red and a little purple to kind of get like a, I don't know, I don't want to say it's pink. It's kind of a not mauve, maroon color, I guess is the right one. So I'm just lightly adding some inked up onto my stamp, and I am, and a little more water on that one, but that's okay. I'm going to put my photos there anyway. And I don't want to waste a lot of that art crayon, so I'm using the excess to just drip with my paintbrush onto the background. And I really like the kind of the background, how it's starting so far. Again, I'm just going to dry all that off with my paper towel. And now I want to do some stamping. So again, more stamping. I'm going to use this sentiment stamp that's in the Storyteller collection. And I'm going to use some Distress Oxide ink here in a gray color as well. And just kind of stamp randomly over and over throughout the background of the page. Now, I'm kind of making my initial stamp where I know my photo is going to be, just so I have kind of a, where I know I'm going to cover it up, because I really didn't want it to be a perfectly stamped sentiment over and over. I really wanted to kind of run off and be a little bit messy. So that's what I started with there. I am stamping those same butterflies now onto another piece of foundation cardstock. I'm going to do quite a few of the larger ones and several of the small too. Usually when I do something like this, I like to do a whole bunch kind of at once while I have the product out. If I don't, I'm definitely not going to use all these flowers, butterflies, sorry. I can always go back in later and kind of save these for another project. I'm going to trim this down, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to water down again some art crayon. I'm going to do a bit of a mixture of a couple of the different reds and a little bit of black just to get it a really kind of rich kind of red color. And I'm going to use my stamping block this time really just to smush some ink onto those stamps. So I'm using obviously a archival black ink so that it won't run, and I'm really not paying too much attention trying to make this look pretty, but I'm just literally taking that watered down art crayon. Again, here's a bit of a purpley pink kind of color. I've watered down a bit with black, and I'm just adding splotches of the paint onto the stamped image using my stamping block. And if you could push the stamping block down and kind of even turn it a little bit around, it'll kind of smush it out a little bit. And I wanted to do the same thing with this yellow color, but I thought I would just add some droplets. However, I will say that you could barely see the droplets, so I ended up just taking my paintbrush and dabbing in some of that yellow just to bring a little bit more brightness to the butterflies. So I just tapped that in just to the open areas that hadn't already been smushed, and then I'm going to let that sit aside and dry. There is a die in the stamp set that you can use to cut these out. I'm just going to fussy cut them. For me, it's just a lot quicker, but the die does work quite well. I've tried it on other projects. So I'm just going to cut these out really quickly and just cut a few for my projects. I will layer the smaller one over top of the larger ones in a case like this. I wanted to use this really cool foiled vellum paper, so I'm going to punch some of the circles out using my circle punch. I'm going to use some half circles and full circles, so a bit of everything. I'm just trying to pick some here that's going to match with my photo, my layout that I'm picking. And I want a good collection and a variety of shapes. I don't want to have too many words or too many of the same kind of, too much foil too. I'm trying to avoid that. So I want to add a little bit of black to this project just because I have some splatters there in the background, and I think that that's just going to ground out some of the color that I'm going to have on here later. So I'm just going to use this polka dot paper from Storyteller. On the back you can see is this really great rainbow that I used on another project. So I'm just going to add some foam adhesive, as you can see, to the back of my photos, kind of place them where I want them. I am going to kind of cover up those splotchy butterflies from earlier. And then I'm going to place my vellum circles kind of in and around my photos, kind of to create a bit of a trail from the top where those butterflies are all the way down to the bottom of my page, and just filling in some of the open area, almost adding like another layer to our background. So I'm adding this vellum with just some adhesive. To be honest, if you put it behind the foil areas, I didn't completely cover the whole back with adhesive, but I am going to sew them down a little bit later on. But if you put it on the foil, you can't at all really see the adhesive, so that would be my tip. I'm going to take this really pretty, I love this floral washi tape from the Storyteller collection as well, and I'm just going to rip that down the middle because it is a bit wider, and then add that to each side of my photo, adding in a couple other different washi tapes too in there. I love the teal one with the ruler. It's just kind of a nice everyday texture. And then I love the stripe, adds in just a little bit more of pieces of color, including that purple that I've tried to bring out a little bit into that butterfly stamps that we used. All right, there is one more stamp in this set that I wanted to use, and it says Happiness Is. So I'm just going to stamp that with some black ink again, just kind of start off my title for my page. And then I'm going to go ahead and try to figure out what to do for the rest of my title. I really love the new Storyteller chipboard alphas, so I'm going to use those to create the word you. I love the different kind of patterns that are on there. It's just not a plain white font. I really love that. Thought about I added in this puffy heart. I will take it off later on, as you'll see. It's a really great color. I really wanted to keep that on there, but it just didn't fit in with what I ended up doing with the rest of the page. But I'm going to add a photo tab to the side of my photo. I really love doing that. And then I love these pretty yellow kind of flowers that are there. And I thought that kind of tied in well with those butterflies we're going to use that I inked up earlier. So I'm going to kind of scatter a few of those little light yellow flowers in around my photos. I do end up moving them quite a few times. But what I'm really trying to do at the end of this project is kind of scatter all of it really, the stamps, kind of the stencil, the splotches, as well as those circles and the embellishments kind of down in a top to bottom sort of design. I'm going to add this really pretty heart. I love how this is kind of like a collage-y kind of heart. And then I'm going to grab a piece of chipboard here. I love these tickets. They're just a nice way to kind of add a little extra to the side of your photo. And I'm going to start off kind of trying to place my butterflies. I am going to layer the larger one with the smaller one using a glue dot. But I kind of had a bit of a hard time settling where I wanted to put the butterflies because I didn't want to cover up my stamped butterflies. And I didn't want to have too many butterflies and have it look just like too much. So I kind of played around a little bit with where I was going to put things, kind of trying to put them down and lift them up again. I stuck down that O with a piece of glue dot as well, just because it was a little bit raised and it was a little not sticking quite as great as I wanted it to. But again, I'm going to just really move around some of the embellishments and kind of settle on where I want to put things. I do love that chipboard Happy Life there, so I'm going to leave that where it is. I do want more of the butterflies in, and I don't want to take them completely off. And I actually think the layout needs a little bit of that black ink from the butterfly. So as right now, without it, it does look a little bit kind of too plain. So I thought I'll pause on the butterflies for now, but I am going to go in and add just some detail stitching along the edges of some of those circles, just really kind of cutting through the foil a little bit That's just going to help stick them down, to be honest, and it's also going to just add a nice little quick touch of texture to my project as well. I do love that stitching element on almost every sort of page that I make. And it gives me some time, to be honest, to kind of think about where I want to put those butterflies. I was really having a hard time getting them down and almost thought about scrapping them all completely. I wouldn't have thrown them out. I would have kept them in my extra die cut bowl that I have kind of going on. But I really will play around quite a bit. I end up sticking some kind of in between the stamped butterflies there at the top and then scattering them down on the left side of the page a little bit more. I think I'm almost done. I did have this extra scrap of paper, as you can see. I love this rainbow that's in the collection. Like, it's gorgeous. It has like a nice texture to them, each of the colors. So I thought I'll just add a really thin strip of that rainbow. A paper like that really can go a long way. It's going to kind of cover up some of that stamping that I've done and help just bring some more colors that's in the project onto the page. It was looking a little bit too white almost. And so I thought I'll just finish off with a few little sentiments. I love this sticker pack. It has some really good things, like there's a washi tape stickers, there's sentiments, there's circles, there's photo tabs, there's sentiments, there's all kinds of really great things. And labels, I love labels. They're great to layer behind photos and different images. So I'm just going to kind of use a different collection of each of those kind of just to add to the layers behind my photo. And I think once I add a little bit of rose stowing along that rainbow there, you can see kind of how everything came together. I love these stamped butterflies. Those are like gorgeous. And I really love how I've kind of made my own background pattern paper with this one. A lot of fun, really a few easy ways you can do this yourself. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you guys again next week. Bye-bye.